Okay everybody, this is part 6 of Grow Together, and in this video we're going to be talking about growing carrots. I've had so many messages from people asking for tips on how to grow carrots because they haven't had much success. So I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks that you can stick to, and hopefully you'll get a great harvest this year. So there's a number of reasons why people are not having success in growing carrots. But first of all, let's talk about prepping the area where you're going to grow your carrots. Check first to see if your soil is compact, because carrots do not like compact soil. And if it is, even in a no-dig garden, I recommend getting a fork and giving it a light fork and just open the ground a little bit to allow air in and to allow the root to go down into the soil. And if you have a heavy clay soil, I would recommend adding some sand, because this will give extra aeration and added drainage to your soil. And another thing to keep an eye out for in your soil are stones and rocks, because as you can imagine, as the root of the carrot grows down into the soil, if it hits a rock, it'll disturb its growth and you'll end up with no yield. And so if you haven't already added some form of fertility like manure or compost to your beds prior to prepping them for carrots, now's the time to do it before sowing. I recommend using a good compost for carrots, because carrots can act very funny in manure, especially when it's not broken down and composted properly. Your carrot will end up what they call forking, where it doesn't grow in a nice straight root. It'll fork into about 7 or 8 little thin bits of root, which are very hard to peel and very hard to eat. So now you're ready to sow your carrot seeds. First, you're going to mark out the bed. And I would recommend using the rake and a little bit of water pipe on the rake to mark it, like I've shown you in previous videos. The ideal spacing for your rows of carrots, I think, is about 30 centimeters. So I would put 3 rows of carrots in one of my beds. And marking the beds out with the rake and pipe will create a small little furrow or trench for you to drop the seeds into. So as you drop your seeds into the little trenches, you want to drop them in very sparingly. Ideally, you want to have a carrot growing every 2 to 3 inches. Now, if you drop a few more seeds into the little trench, that's fine, because as the seedlings start to show and grow up a little bit, you'll be able to thin them out by pulling out the seedlings to leave the exact right spacings for your carrots to grow. And don't forget, carrots and parsnips have to be sown where they're going to grow. Don't sow them in seed trays and transplant them out later, because this can also cause them to fork. So once you have your seeds sown, cover them with a light sprinkling of compost and then give them a good watering in. But be careful, don't use a high pressure hose or you'll disturb where the seeds are. So next, and this is a great tip to remember, you're going to cover your seed rows. The reason you're going to do this is because carrot seeds, when they dry out, will not germinate. So you're going to try and keep the soil nice and moist for as long as possible, right up until you see the little seedlings poking their heads up. So you can cover your rows with literally anything just to retain that moisture. You can use plank of wood like a fencing board. You could use black plastic that's reused from something, as long as it's weighed down and it doesn't blow away. So after a number of days, you want to keep checking under the board or under the plastic, and as soon as you see the little green tops starting to come up, it's time to remove the cover. And once your seedlings are starting to develop and to establish themselves into nice little plants, it's time then to thin them out so that they're at the correct spacings for growing. So once you have your seedlings thinned out, the next job, and this is very important, you're going to cover them up. You're going to cover them with either frost fleecing, bionet, or maybe climate net, some sort of an anti-pest net. And this is to stop the carrot root fly from getting at your crop, because if they get in, they will destroy everything. Covering them is the easiest and quickest way to protect your carrot crop. And now as they grow, all you need to remember is, have they got enough water, and don't let the weeds take over. And now planting onion sets. Onion sets couldn't be easier. They are just a little bulb onion that's ready to go straight into the ground. First thing you need to do is prep your area, then mark your bed, use the rake again, 30 centimeters between each row, and then ideally, depending on the variety, if it's a medium-sized onion, give them about 10 centimeters between each onion set. If it's a very large onion that you're growing, give them about 15 centimeters. And so that's it for this video. I hope these tips will help you get a great harvest of carrots and onions. We'll see you in the next one.